This is one of the most affordable 16-inch Alienware laptop you can buy right now. And that's exactly why it's suspicious. Back in the day, Alienware and affordable weren't known to be in the same sentence, as Alienware is known for the most expensive, extra, and the most overbuilt gaming machines. So when they make a budget 16-inch laptop, you kinda start asking, what exactly did they cut to get here? I've seen what happens when companies try to lower the price point and make a budget gaming laptop. An example is with the Acer Predator and the Acer Nitro series. They start making trade-offs. And with something like this, those trade-offs aren't always obvious. So instead of just going through specs, I actually spent some time with this laptop, trying to figure out where Alienware cut costs and how it affects the usability of this laptop. Because on the surface, it might look like a good deal. I mean, the almighty Alienware is making their own budget laptop after all, so what could go wrong? But when you start to look a little closer, that's when the real story shows up. This laptop launched at $1,500, but later on was discounted down to around $900. But right now, picking one up will run you about $1,200 to $1,300 because of the RAM shortage inflation. And if you want to pick one up after this video, do so using my link in the description below. So now let's get back to the laptop itself. Here are the specifications on this laptop. This laptop is made with aluminium on the top and plastic on the bottom. Dell says that they used some magnesium alloy in it, and I'm wondering where it is because I can't seem to find it anywhere. So it's most likely going to be that it's on the inside and it provides structural rigidity to the laptop. The laptop feels really sturdy and the choices of material makes it feel like a tank. The aesthetics on it is pretty simple with just an Alienware logo on the top. We don't get the logo that lights up. This time we get a glossy iridescent Alienware logo which at certain angles bounces lights differently and shows a host of colors. Apart from that, the whole design of this laptop is pretty clean and minimalist. You don't really get any of the RGB or the underglow that Alienware is fondly known for. This unit comes in a dull blue color which looks decent. It's not really shouty, it's just mute, something really close to black. You might not even know it's blue until you take a closer look at it. The aluminium lid and the plastic body do show a little bit of fingerprint and sweat, so you might have to wipe it down a bit frequently. Overall, I think they did go a little bit cheap on the materials, saying that they used plastic on most of the laptop. However, the build quality is really sturdy, and honestly, I do not think this is the catch that we are looking for. Moving on, let's talk about the ports on this laptop. On the left, you get an Ethernet port, a USB-A 5 gigabits per second port, and a headphone microphone combo port. On the back, you have the power adapter port, an HDMI port, two USB-C with display out, and a USB-A with 5 gigabits per second also. While on the right, you have absolutely no ports. Not what I was expecting, but quite interesting. In terms of ergonomics, it is nice that they have no ports on the right because that allows better movement for right-handed mouse users. But if you're using left hands, the wires will still get in the way of your mouse usage. Also, it's really nice that there are ports on the back. So if you have this laptop in a tucked away setup, you can easily and neatly route the cables only through the back, which is pretty neat. Apart from that, I think I would have just liked to see an SD card port somewhere. This laptop weighs about 2.5 kgs or 5.6 pounds by itself, which at first doesn't seem too heavy. However, holding it right now in one hand is making my hand all stiff and it comes with a 180 watts charger, which then brings the total weight with this to 3.2 kilograms or about 7.1 pounds. That weight becomes significant if you plan on carrying this laptop for hours. One thing that I did notice though is that this laptop is quite compact for a 16-inch laptop. But transportation aside, let's take a look at the laptop itself. Opening this laptop up, the hinge feels pretty smooth and pretty well tuned, just like that we see on other Alienware machines. And as you can see, it did pass the one-hand open test. The bezels on this laptop are quite thin and respectable. They also carry a 720p webcam up top. This is the webcam quality on the Alienware, and this is also the microphone quality if you were wondering. Let me know what you think down below. I can already hear a lot of your thoughts. I'm also thinking the same thing because what is this? Let me know what you let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, just below the webcam, you have a nice looking 16-inch 16:10 aspect ratio screen, and here are the specs on it. As you can see, the screen looks really good. It's a matte IPS panel with 100% sRGB, so that makes the color really pop. They are really vibrant. The reds are reds, the blue are blues, the yellows are yellows, and that's just how good this screen looks. Everything I tried to do with this screen looked amazing. Movies, games, whatever. This is a 120Hz panel screen, which isn't the fastest. I would have liked to see at least 144Hz on a laptop that is this price. But yeah, it's good enough. I used it in a couple of games and they looked quite good. I was able to hit some shots. However, if you're something like an esports player, someone that needs like swift response time and very fast display, this really isn't for you because this has some response time issues. The brightness, however, is pretty average. It does get a bit bright, but not too bright. It tops out at about 300 nits, so that means you can use this in like a mediumly lit room and not directly under sunlight. Overall, I'll give the screen like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, which just means that this screen is definitely not the catch that we are looking for. If you're enjoying this video so far, do make sure to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs and you can be of help. Moving on, the keyboard on this laptop feels pretty familiar with the Alienware layout. However, it does feel a bit shallow and cheap. I don't know if it's a thing with the key travel or the material that was used, but honestly, compared to other Alienware laptops, this isn't just up there. Something else that also disappointed me about this keyboard was its lack of RGB. It has a white backlit, which really isn't white, and honestly, it's pretty dim, but that's just all you get. No red, no green, no blue. At least I would have expected Alienware to include a bit of RGB in the keyboard. But yeah, this is what we get with the Aurora 16. I also noticed this laptop has its power button on the keyboard, which necessarily from an engineer's perspective is not really the best, being that if anything happens to your keyboard, let's say water spills on it or it gets damaged, you're not going to be able to use your laptop. You can't turn it on, you can't do anything. Moving on, it comes with a decently sized trackpad, nothing too big. This trackpad is made of plastic, but tracks pretty accurately. However, it doesn't feel the best because it's plastic. Personally, I just think the trackpad is okay. It's usable and I think that's what they're going for. This time around, Alienware didn't include their RGB underglow in the trackpad also. Before we continue, something I just noticed right now is that this laptop has a lot of blue color hues. The trackpad's color is different from the blue on the deck, while the blue color of the deck is different from the blue color on the plastic trim, and then the blue color on the plastic trim of the bezels is also different from the blue color behind the laptop itself. I do feel like that is a problem and it makes this laptop overall not look cohesive. At this point, we've seen where they've cut some costs, but honestly, it's nothing really out of the ordinary. I genuinely thought that this laptop was shaping up to be a pretty decent budget 16-inch laptop offering from Alienware. But then I started to test the CPU and the GPU, then things started to turn sour. And there it was. The catch. Let's talk about performance. This laptop comes with the Intel Core 7 240H, which shouldn't be mistaken with the Core Ultra 7s. This CPU is a pretty decent CPU which can be used to handle things like video editing, running high-end softwares, crunching numbers, and a whole lot. It's a pretty capable CPU and I'm not shocked that it was used in this build. Now moving on to the GPU, and this is where things get really dicey. Alienware chose to include the base RTX 5050 in this laptop, and honestly I feel like that is a missed opportunity with this machine as a whole. And if you're wondering how it performs in games, here it is. First, we are starting with Fortnite. Settings at medium. Native 1600p. We are averaging around 60 FPS here. Turning things down to the low presets, and we are now averaging around 90 to 100 FPS. Now switching to performance render mode, we are able to lock in at 144 FPS. So let's move on to Cyberpunk and check if things get better. At native resolution, we are starting out with high settings. We averaged around 61 FPS with minimum frames reaching around 45 FPS. Now let's turn on DLSS to performance. With DLSS on and no ray tracing, we are averaging around 100 FPS with minimum frames at 53 FPS. Now let's see if this RT laptop can handle the lowest level of ray tracing in this game. With DLSS on at auto and ray tracing on low, this laptop managed an average of 74 frames per second with a minimum of 38 FPS. As you can see, the RTX 5050 GPU really struggles trying to run games natively. The only thing that saves this graphics card is that NVIDIA has managed to create frame gen. Else, you're definitely not going to be getting to the 120 FPS mark natively with this GPU, which is what is needed to fully take advantage of the 120 FPS display. The pairing between the Intel Core 7 and the RTX 5050 is being brought back a little bit by the RTX 5050, and in turn means that this laptop most likely wouldn't be able to do a lot of gaming in the next 4 to 5 years. Because once NVIDIA stops the support for DLSS on this graphics card, that's all for it. Bye bye. This laptop can get really loud in its performance or turbo mode, and this is how that sounds like. Fortunately, all of that noise translates into decent cooling on this laptop, as even the keyboard deck doesn't really get hot when gaming for long hours. And also definitely keeps the chips from overheating after a while. This laptop comes with an 86 Wh battery, which can last around 8 hours during really light tasks like watching videos. But if you want to do anything more intensive like gaming, that will run your battery down to just around 3 hours. Here's how the speakers on this laptop sounds in comparison with my iPhone 16 Pro. As you can see, this laptop sounds pretty mid. The bass is flat, the trebles are muddy, everything just sounds mid. Even in comparison to my iPhone, I definitely would pick my iPhone speakers over this any day, anytime. If you want to really enjoy your multimedia or gaming on this laptop, you definitely need to pick up a pair of headphones or just use external speakers. Now, flipping this laptop over, it has this really unique and new vent design, and honestly, I don't know if that helps or doesn't help with the cooling. Getting into the laptop itself is pretty easy, as you have just a total of 10 screws to take out and you have access to the internals on this laptop. So, is the Alienware Aurora 16 worth considering? Honestly, this is a tough one because on paper, they did a lot right. The thermals are solid, the screen looks really good, and the build quality overall feels like a tank. But then you get to the most important part for someone like me, and that's exactly where things started to fall apart. The CPU is pretty decent for the most part, but at this price, you should not be getting an RTX 5050 GPU. But what do I know? I guess you're just paying the Alienware tax, like on every other Alienware laptop. The RTX 5050 on this laptop holds it back more than any other thing else. And that creates a strange situation. All things being fair, this is actually a good laptop. I just think depending on the price that you can get it for, it might not be the best deal. So here's my verdict. If you can find this laptop on sale for like $800 to $900 and you know you're not going to be doing anything particularly GPU intensive, probably you just want to game once a while, then yeah, you can consider picking this up. It's a solid one, but anything over $1,100, quite frankly, I wouldn't recommend it. Because if getting the best value for your money is your end goal, then there's better options out there for the same amount. I really don't think this is a bad laptop, I just think it is priced more than it's worth. If you made it to this point, YouTube thinks you'll enjoy one of the two videos that pops up on your screen right now, so do give them a watch.